Hello, it's Kirsten Liebelt. Come on in. How are you doing today? How you doing? Okay, so I came across information from Lewis Howes was interviewing Dr. William Lee, and it was incredibly interesting because they were talking about diet soda. So let's chat diet soda here for just a second. Because when we are trying to like lower our carbs and stuff, right? We're trying to eat less carbs, we're trying to get off of sugar, all this stuff. What do? We usually turn to diet soda. But you guys, this is super interesting. And I think everybody wants to know this, and especially the girls, because I'm going to tell you something why this connection might not be the best. And then actually, one of the connections is actually depression. Okay, but that's a whole nother conversation. So let's just talk about diet soda and how it potentially can be making you fat. Oh, isn't that nuts? Like it's working against us. I remember somebody telling me this a long time ago. And I mean years ago. And I was like 15 years ago. And I'm like, I so dismissed it because I thought that doesn't make any sense to me. Well, now the kind of research that I do now, it actually does make sense to me. So let me explain to you why. If you don't know who I am, my name is Kirsten Liebelt, and I basically talk a lot about turning back around insulin resistance. I am convinced that women who are sliding into their 40s, they're insulin resistant. They do not know that they are, and insulin is a hormone. And so it is directly affecting your weight gain or your inability to lose weight. And this has been my universe all of my life. And my dad died of type 2 diabetes when he was 63. So this has been my journey for years and years and years. And this is how I ended up where I am today. Irony of ironies talking about this. So you have not drank soda of any kind 30 years. That is phenomenal. Way to go. Seriously, way to go. Most people cannot say that. I mean, I can't say that for sure. I'm not a soda drinker, but I will drink. Like, I'll be like at a, let's say Christmas or whatever. I'll have a glass of, Diet Coke or whatever. But I don't normally just drink that. But this is super interesting. So let's get into some of the research here. So what he's talking about is the connection is actually directly in when you're talking about like aspartame, and that's what we're going to talk about most right now. Let's just talk about aspartame, and it probably is true for like saccharin also, etc. But what they're talking about is the fact that it actually, he says, this is Dr. William Lee. Now I'm going to mix a couple of people with their research, because I am not the expert, but I can point you to people. So Dr. William Lee is talking about how aspartame it'll go in and it will literally poison your gut bacteria. It'll harm your microbiome. And when it is doing that, what is happening? So it's not that diet soda is, the non-nutritive sweeteners. And I'm not talking about stevia or allulose or, monk fruit. I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about aspartame, right? And he said, it's not that it's overpowering your metabolism, like how sugar would, right? Sugar would just like, you go right off the cliff. He said, but instead what it's doing is it's poisoning your ecosystem. It's messing up your ecosystem. And when that happens, that's when you end up having issues with inflammation, your immune system, your sense of well-being, how you're feeling. That's the connection with depression, because your gut is your second brain. And it's just a super interesting thought process, but it even goes a little further than that. So I'm going to just look here and see, because then the next person that I was listening to is I want to make sure I have this one right. Dr. Mandel. Was he the one? Nope, it wasn't him. It was somebody else. Shoot. Now I don't have his name down here, but he's talking about very specifically aspartame. And he's saying aspartame is actually connected to non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Well, I actually talk about this kind of a lot when inside of my Facebook group. So I have a Facebook group. It's called Ditch Insulin Resistance for Women. And we talk about the liver because the liver is literally your fat metabolizing organ. And Maria Emmerich talks about it all the time. And she says things like, what we want to blame weight gain on our thyroid. But the truth is that T4 thyroid hormone is converted into T3 active thyroid hormone in the liver, and we're not taking care of our liver. So just take that piece of information and set that aside for a second. So if we're constantly drinking aspartame, and if that is true, that there's a connection between aspartame and non-alcoholic fatty liver, which I had not heard that before. But if that's true, then we're really we're going backwards all the time in terms of being able to have our liver working for us for fat metabolism to lose weight. Like we're going opposite. So these are the things that he's saying is happening if you're messing up your liver by drinking a lot of aspartame. And side note, 50 years ago, the only people that had fatty liver were alcoholics. So the fact that we just call it non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, we've given it a name, right? But now it's in our children. And that's for a lot of different reasons, not just aspartame, but this is so interesting. So hold on. I want to see what, so Linda says that she stopped in 2007. Diet pop tastes like chemicals. It does. In fact, when I do take, if I do a diet root beer, it's not so bad. But if I, let's say, go to Costco and I take a sip of Diet Pepsi, it's just too horrible. I can't do it really anymore. You're on day 2 of no Diet Shasta Cola. Diet Shasta Cola has sucralose. You've been unable to lose weight, even fasting 24 to 48 hours, been on prednisone for 19 years for adrenal insufficiency. Yep. Interesting. Yeah. Anna. Hi, Anna. Good to see you. Okay. So liver. Hey, Ruthie. Good to see you. All right. Here we go. If aspartame is messing up your liver, which is what the thought process is, it's raising your cortisol. And when you raise your cortisol, you're lowering your testosterone. And when you're lowering your testosterone, you have a higher incidence of insulin resistance. Okay. And that's what I talk about all the time, right? Because insulin resistance is when your cells say no more to insulin getting glucose inside of them. And so you are left with 2 things. You're left with high insulin in your body, which is high inflammation, which eventually over time leads to high blood sugars. That's how we end up with type 2 diabetes, right? But also too, it can't get the glucose in the cell. And so now you're exhausted all the time. Okay. That's kind of a tiny little nutshell layman person version, Italian chick who just figured out a few things like description of insulin resistance. Okay. And so basically, your liver also converts estrogen. And I talk about this a lot too in the group. And because you want to be able to convert estrogen, you want your liver to be able to do what it needs to do to govern the glucose in your blood, to help your hormones be governed, to dump bad estrogen, to dump bad cortisol, to use your insulin the way it's supposed to use your insulin, to convert the T4 to the T3. You want your liver to be working, right? Really, really well. Well, if you are working against it, if you're drinking a lot of aspartame, let's just say, because I'll use that as an example, it could be saccharin also, right? But if you're drinking a lot of those chemicals, then what's happening is you're poisoning your ecosystem and you're off balance. And so your liver's not functioning well. And I just thought that was super, super fascinating. And it makes total sense. So basically, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease is making it so that weight loss is hard. So now this is why your weight loss is not going the way you want it to go. And so then I was listening to Nisha and Ken Berry. I don't know if you know who they are, Dr. Ken Berry. I really love a lot of his information. And both of them had to find their way off of diet soda. They said that during residency, they just drank so much diet soda. He said, I was probably drinking about 2 liters of diet Mountain Dew every day. That's how much diet pop he was drinking. And I don't remember what her choice was. It might've been Diet Dr. Pepper, but just drinking a lot of diet soda, and they had to get off of it. And this was the tip that they gave. So I'll leave you with this tip. I thought this was really helpful, saying that if you take your diet soda and you add 3/4 of what can be done to undo the insulin. I will answer that about insulin resistance. I will answer that. So if you take a cup of, I thought I had a cup with me, but I don't. Here, let me use this. If you take a cup of diet soda and instead of filling it up all the way, you filled it up 3/4 of the way, grab some Pellegrino, grab some sparkling water and fill it up. And then maybe do that for a week. and then eventually get to the point where you're half and half. And he said, to be really honest, the color almost, like if it's a Diet Dr. Pepper, it almost completely doesn't even change. That's how much you can water it down and not notice. And you can still get that bite of the carbonation in there, right? And you just keep doing that until you literally have watered it down so far that you are able to just go without and maybe just use like a sparkling water or a flavored sparkling water, because it is very addictive, right? And maybe we're addicted to the flavor, maybe we're addicted to the bubbles, whatever it is, or just the actual sweeteners. But we're really literally, according to what Dr. Lee is saying, it poisons your microbiome. Oh my gosh, like I never thought about it that way. So I just thought that that was a really good conversation with that. Hello, Emma. So in answering the question about how can you undo insulin resistance? So this has literally just been something that flavored sparkling water is the best. Just love the bubbles. I know the bubbles are really good with, I know. It helps, doesn't it? It helps a lot, actually. But insulin resistance is 100% turnaroundable. Turnaroundable. I just made up that word. It is 100%. And again, I'm not a doctor. But you know what? When my dad died, I remember. So my dad died on a Friday morning and he was 63 and I was home with my husband and my kids we were living 12 hours or 10 hours away. And we came home to visit. And my kids were 6, 3, and 3 months. 6 months. 6, 3, and 6 months. And he died Friday morning and he was 63. And the next morning when I woke up, my mom, of course, was very distraught. She was 65, I think. So she's very distraught, even though he had a lot of health issues, type 2 diabetic, insulin dependent, 2 injections a day in the belly, heart surgeries, pacemaker, kidney dialysis. He did it all. So it's not like it was completely unexpected in the scope of life, right? Because he was not a healthy person, but it was unexpected in the timing because he did just kind of up and go after, he died right after a dialysis session. And because his heart. And the next morning I get up and my mom is crying. And what she's crying about is the fact that he had this Lazy Susan full of medication. Do you know what a Lazy Susan is? They still make them, right? Where you can twirl it inside of a cupboard. Well, he had a Lazy Susan full of meds that sat on the counter. And she was like, oh, why did I complain so much about his meds? Why did I make such a big deal that they were in the way or they were messy or whatever? So what's going through her head in that moment? And that always stuck with me, not because she said it, but it sparked a question in my brain. And this is the question. So I don't understand, if my dad was on all of these meds, why did he die? Like, isn't modern medicine miraculous? Isn't it supposed to turn back whatever it is you have or heal? And I tell the story a lot because I think that I'm not the only one that has this thought process or that did. And the answer is no, absolutely 100% not. That's not what the role of pharma is. At all, actually. There is no healing in pharma. Now, it can control, it can manage, and it can do good things, but it's not like how we heal our bodies with food or we heal our bodies with, the plants God gave us or et cetera, right? And so once I kind of like started to really think about this, then I wanted to know if that is true, then where do we go with that information? And so over the years of studying, my diabetes, I was gestational with my first baby. My insulin resistance started in my 20s. I was gestational with my first baby, hypoglycemic with my second. And I never put it together. I spent my entire 30s never, ever, ever once thinking, oh, insulin is a hormone. Oh, I could become type 2 because of the way that I'm eating. I always thought I could just become type 2 because it was genetic. I'd only ever been taught this genetic thought process. And I thought, oh, isn't that terrible? Like some people just get it. And it never dawned on me to go further than that. So when I hit my 40s and my weight is increasing and my mom is on me about my sugars and she's asking me, do you ever go to the doctor, and are you thirsty all the time, and are you peeing all the time? Because those are the signs of, insulin resistance type 2. And she had every right to ask me. I'm so thankful that she did, because that is how I ended up actually supplementing first, because I'm Italian and I didn't think I could trade out my foods. My thumb is up on my Instagram. And I didn't think that I could do that. I didn't think that I could trade out my foods. That's a whole, I could tell that story as well, but that was just very culturally connected to food. Let me put it that way. So I started with supplementation and it worked. And I talk about that in the group also all the time. In fact, I have a video that's pinned to the top of the Facebook group. Should you jump in there? Basically, it's a class that I did in December, but it's kind of like all you need to know about the trio so that you can get the help you need. That's really what the information about the video is. But anyway, so I did that. And I then started to study, why is this working? Why are we deficient in certain things that this can then turn this around and all of these things. And so I go through that, but then in my 50s, post cycle stopping, and I want people to hear this, I have been able to go from a 2X down to a large. You cannot lose weight if your insulin is high and if your sugars are high. So you have to deal with your insulin resistance. This is a big piece of the puzzle, why women are like, you hit your 40s and your ditch insulin resistance for women. That's the name of the group. Your hormones go upside down in your 40s. Insulin is a hormone, so everything gets a little bit exacerbated, right? And in the meantime, you're wondering, like, where did this go? Why am I gaining all this weight? Why can't I lose weight? Listen, I used to be able to just count points and it would go away. I used to be able to just live in a calorie deficit and it would go away. Why is this not working anymore? And so that's the information that you can get in there. You're welcome, Cynthia. And if you can't find after Instagram is done, once the video closes, you can come back and comment on the video and then I can answer things. It's just during the live, it doesn't hold. I don't know why it doesn't do things like that. But anyway, and so the truth is the answer is yes. Yes, you can turn things around. The testimonies that I have right now, I wish I did a bunch of testimonies in the group today, if you just kind of want to know, because I feel like it gives people hope, and people don't have hope. They don't have hope that things can be turned around, just like me, just like in my brain, when I was saying, isn't this just genetic? Isn't this just how this goes? And the answer is no, this isn't just how this goes. Julie, you've cleaned up your diet and you're losing again, but you had to tweak things. Yep. And I've definitely tweaked things as I've gone, because I was still thinking that, sweet potatoes were okay and whatever. But once you're insulin resistant, things are different. It's just the way that it goes. So, I'll just give you let's see. These I think I gave maybe last week, except for this one. I'll give you this one. This one just came in. Today is 3 weeks since I've started the trio, and those are 3 supplements that have 3 ingredients that help with insulin sensitivity. These are the ones that I very naively started taking 13 years ago. I didn't know, you guys. I just didn't know. I never took a supplement. I never ate well. I didn't have any plans to eat well. The fact that I, have a Facebook group and teach food it's a little cuckoo bananas, not going to lie. So anyway, so she says, I'm so excited to tell you I'm down 9.5 pounds. This is after 3 weeks for her, because again, bring your insulin down, bring your sugars down. You can lose weight. This is how this works with your body. I'm so glad I found you on Facebook, and I'm looking forward to a healthier future. The chocolate almond bread, which is in the group. Look at the guides up on top. If you're already in the group, there's guides with some video recipes. The chocolate almond bread is so yummy. I can't wait to try the other combos. I also made the spaghetti squash and meat sauce. Amazing. Thank you for the recipes, and I look forward to more of your recipe videos. I have gleaned a lot of encouragement and excitement from Maria Emmerich. And so she's been such the creative genius behind all of this for me. And so I just am passing on a lot of different things that I've learned from her and the thought process, because it does take a little change in your thought process, right? But nothing too terrible. If you want to know about the trio, put trio in the comments. And when I get off in Instagram, you'd have to wait until the video is done and then come back and comment trio on the video, and I can get you that information. Can you eat oatmeal with monk fruit? I do not eat oatmeal. Oatmeal is extraordinarily high in sugar spiking. I would not eat if you're insulin resistant, I would not. Patrick, that is the trio. So you can DM me trio, or when the movie, I'm on a movie. When the video is done, you can put trio and come back and put the trio in the comments, and I'll get you that information. Because it doesn't hold in the live on Instagram. But what was I saying? I was going to say something. Oh, so oatmeal. Yeah, oatmeal. No, I'm so sorry. Yeah, no grain. I teach completely grain free and I teach completely sugar free. Grains are very sugar spiking. So instead of thinking in terms of, is this a good food or is this a bad food? Once you're insulin resistant, to me, the very simplicity of it all is when I put food into my mouth, my question is, how much does this spike my sugar? Because no matter what, my body is going to call on insulin to deal with what I just ate. However, if you spike your sugars high, whether it's high right away, like apple juice into your bloodstream, or high over the next 2 hours, it's still going up high enough that you have to call on a lot more insulin, a lot and a lot and a lot and a lot and a lot. And what your pancreas will do is it will do the best job that it can do on the face of the planet. It's going to like produce insulin for you to make sure that you can get that glucose into your cell. But when it can't get the glucose into your cell anymore because your body is resistant, then what happens is all of that gets turned to fat, because insulin is a fat storing hormone. So if it can't get into the cell, it's going to do something with it. Your body is made so phenomenally well, so magically well. It's going to do something with all of that glucose. And then it's going to go to your inner knees. It's going to go to your back fat. It's going to go to your belly, probably your belly first. And that's what happens, right? And so you need to bring down your insulin and your sugars, and so that you can lose weight. And it's amazing how you can lose weight. Just think about that. She's talking about 3 weeks, 9.5 pounds. That's just one. I have so many testimonies. I could bore you with testimonies for hours at this point. But I'm just saying, like, that's what happens. Even people who, they were on, they're on meds and they're doing all the things with their doctors and whatever. But if you just can't get those sugars to tamp down, that's what happens. You are interested. Oh, good. Well, you know what? You can watch the replay. I'll make sure that I save it to my wall for you. I'll make sure. Ginny, are you freaking kidding me? You're okay. You're down 25 pounds and you started the trio November 13th. Ginny, I need to interview you in the group. Can I interview you in the group? That is amazing. That is amazing. And I am so sorry, but Tobin, I won't be able to see the trio after I get off of the line here. I wish Instagram would save my comments, but they won't. I have to have people comment afterwards. Ginny, that is phenomenal. Okay, so November 13th, how many weeks is that? Hold on, I'm going to look this up for people. Oh, you guys, I'm so grateful. Let me look this up. So calendar. I want to make sure I'm not missing any comments. I know, right? She says, yes. Oh, yay. I want to go. Oh, good. I'm going to reach out to you. I'm going to interview you in the group. So I'm going to go back to November 13th. Okay, y'all, let's pay attention to this. November 13th. Let's do some math together. The 13th was a Monday in November. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 and a half weeks. So 3 months. In 3 months, she's dropped 25 pounds. That's over Thanksgiving, over Christmas, over New Year's. That is amazing. I'm so proud of you, Jenny. I'm so proud of you, because no matter what, everything takes discipline. Everything takes consistency. Even though this is the simplest routine that you'll ever find on the face of the planet, even though I teach food ingredient trade outs to just trade out the ingredients to the foods that you already love. Like, don't live in deprivation. It still takes effort, right? To learn a little new language of how to make a recipe different. Yesterday, I do one challenge every month. in the group, 5-day challenge. And every time I go and we go into my pantry and my refrigerator. And I do that because I want people to have a visual. And doing that, learning how to trade out some ingredients, learning how to like make your fridge look a little different. It's a little bit like learning a new language. But you know what? You get to trade out what you love. I'll trade out what I love. You trade out what you love. And you don't have to buy like a $1,200 a month prepackaged program. In fact, that's the worst thing you could ever do, in my opinion, on the face of the planet, because you don't need more processed food. You don't have a deficiency of processed food in your life that is making you overweight, but you might have deficiencies in minerals and herbs that can help turn it around. So anyway, Ginny, that's just fantastic. You're diagnosed with diabetes with a blood sugar that is between 6 and 7. So your A1C. Yep. So you know what? I would recommend that you jump in the group. Jump in the Facebook group. Ditch insulin resistance for women. I would absolutely jump in there. And I think there's maybe 2,400 in there right now. I'm finishing up the challenge tomorrow. We'll make a recipe. That's what we do. And there's a bunch of testimonies in there, and there's already some recipes up in the guides, etc. And it's just a place where people can maybe understand why counting points anymore doesn't work when you're insulin resistant. The old tricks don't work anymore. Why does calorie deficit not work anymore? Calorie in, calorie out, it's not the same anymore. Well, not once you're insulin resistant. Anna, I know, isn't that the best? I know. Ruth is saying, Ginny, if you're still on here, Ruth is like, oh my gosh, that's fantastic, Ginny, 3 months. That's just amazing. Yeah, she's talking to one of her friends about it who's on the trio. What do I think about keto bread? Oh, Crescent. I talked about that in the group today. No, I don't do anything grain at all. I feel like this is how I feel about keto bread. I feel like there are a lot of companies making a lot of money off of marketing. That's how I feel about that. I feel like we are just shooting ourselves in the foot. One of the things that I really want people to understand, actually, I'm going to have to jump off here in a few minutes. One of the things I want people to understand is that there is a difference between towing a line of like a fad concept of how we should do something. Like keto can mean so many things to so many people, right? And balloons, yay, thank you. I don't know who gave me balloons, but that was fun. I like that party. Towing the line of a marketing thought process of a fad, let's just say fad. We're going to do the and I don't even know what the diets are, but whatever the names of the diets are, there's all these different names out there. But keto in general, keto has a really, 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 really important purpose. And so can you keep your carbs low enough and eat keto bread? Possibly. I actually don't know the carbs on keto bread. However, grain is grain. And unless you have a glucometer, a glucose meter, I don't know why I always mess that up in my brain as I say it. But unless you have something, a glucose sensing monitor, like on your arm or something, so that you can eat that bread and you can follow it for 2 hours, a full 2 hours after you eat, for you and your body, you're never going to know what that's doing to you. You won't know. Now let's pretend it's amazing. Okay, fine. Then technically you're doing okay. However, because I don't eat grain, I don't ache. And that is, to me, that's quality of life. So no grain, no sugar, I don't ache. And I can be on the floor with my grandbabies. So quality of life to me is really important. But I think that for the most part, let's pretend that we don't have any glucose meters and we can't tell the spike at all. I think marketing is screwing us up left and right. They're making a lot of money and we're not losing weight. And that's what's happening all day, every day. Keto this and keto that and blah, blah, blah. And it's all packaged and processed. There are some good products out there. I don't diss all products for sure, but that's just the way that it is. Oh, do you think it's just the movement of my hands? Shut up, Anna. But on Instagram? No, she's got me being weird. Anna, you're hilarious. You're welcome, Crescent. That's just my honest, yeah. Keto's marketing is keto. Yeah, grain is grain. It's just the reality. I don't want people to have misinformation because you can buy a lot of keto products. And then when you buy a lot of keto products and you don't lose weight, you're like, keto didn't work for me. Well, what if you did keto a more clean way and you actually started to burn fat for fuel? You see, the problem is that we're burning sugar for fuel because we're having sugar all the time through the foods that we're eating, like a banana. And how high is that sugar? Oatmeal, how high is that sugar? Grain, how high is that sugar? Pasta, sweet potato, rice, all of these things turn into higher sugar in your body. And so your body is very efficient in the way that it functions. And it's going to burn all that sugar for fuel, and it's never going to get to your fat. Dang it. And then if it can't get into your cell while you're not burning fat for fuel and you're not getting rid of your fat for fuel, it's making more fat because your insulin's going to do something with all that extra sugar because it can't get it into your cell because your cell said no more. Are you tracking? So not only are you not in burning mode, but you're in creation mode at the same time. And nobody wants to be in that situation. So all of that marketing is just damaging to your mindset and it's damaging to your results. Like you can't get the results you want because this is the game. They're just going to tell you whatever you want to hear. But there are ways that you can make things up. Maria Emmerich has taught me how you can like make up super cool ingredient trade outs and, all that good stuff. So there are ways, I promise you. I'm a foodie. I'm an Italian foodie. So I'm not giving up things that I love. I've just learned how to do them differently. And now I share that hope with you. I share that encouragement with you that you can do the same thing. I promise you, this is not as mountainous as they want you to think it is. It's really not. But Ginny lost 25 pounds using the trio since November 13th. I'm totally going to interview you. That's amazing. That is amazing. Everybody needs to hear that. So if you want to know more about the trio, put trio in the comments. Instagram, don't do it yet. Wait till I get off of my live. I'm going to get off in 2 seconds here and then come back and put trio on the video or jump into my DMs and put trio and I'll get you that information. I really will. I'll sit down and I'll get everybody that information. And you can also jump in the group. When I give you the information, you'll get the group information. How's that? I'll do it that way. You're welcome, Crescent. Oh, yay. Okay, good. I see that coming in. Okay, I will check it. And you'll get both. Okay. Have a super blessed night. And for Pete's sake, give up the diet soda because apparently it's making us fat. So no more diet soda. All right. Have a really good night. See you guys later. Let's see if I can find my mouse. Here we go. All right. See you later. Have a good night.